Imagine standing in the middle of a frozen mountain. The wind is screaming. Snow is covering everything around you. Then, you discover a tent. But something isn't right. The tent has been ripped open. From the inside, no signs of a fight, no footprints of an attacker, only silence, and a trail of footprints leading into the freezing darkness. What could make 9 experienced hikers abandon their only shelter? In temperatures colder than -30 degrees Celsius, this is not a horror movie. This is not a fictional story. Everything you're about to hear really happened. In the winter of 1959, 9 young and highly experienced hikers from the Soviet Union began an expedition into the remote Ural Mountains. Their destination was Otorten Mountain, a difficult journey, but one they believed they could complete. They had survived harsh winters before. They knew how to build shelters. They knew how to survive in extreme cold. And they trusted each other with their lives. Before leaving, they laughed together. They took photographs. They wrote letters to their families. No one had any reason to believe. These would become the final, happy moments of their lives. Days later, the group stopped sending messages. At first, nobody was worried. Winter expeditions often took longer than expected. But as more days passed, friends, families, and university officials began to fear the worst. A rescue team was finally organized. When they reached the last known location of the hikers, they found something that made absolutely no sense. Their tent, still standing in the snow, food, left untouched, warm clothes, still inside, cameras, waiting to tell their final story. But the hikers were gone. Every clue they discovered only created more questions. More than 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the world's greatest unsolved mysteries. Tonight, we're going to retrace their final journey, examine the evidence, and uncover the terrifying theories behind what may have happened on that freezing night. January 1959. The Soviet Union was covered in one of the coldest winters of the decade. At the Ural Polytechnic Institute, a group of young students was preparing for an ambitious winter expedition. Their leader was Igor Dyatlov, only 23 years old, but already respected as one of the university's most skilled mountaineers. The team consisted of 9 experienced hikers. Each had completed difficult winter expeditions before. They knew how to survive in freezing temperatures. They knew how to navigate through endless forests. And they trusted one another with their lives. Their destination, Otorten Mountain, a remote peak deep inside the northern Ural Mountains. The journey would cover hundreds of kilometers through untouched snow, frozen rivers, and dangerous mountain passes. For these young adventurers, it was more than just another trip. It was a challenge, a test of endurance, and an opportunity to earn the highest certification in Soviet winter mountaineering. Before leaving, the group spent days preparing every detail. They checked their skis, packed food supplies, winter clothing, medical kits, maps, compasses, cameras. Everything was carefully organized. Friends gathered to say goodbye. Family members wished them luck. The hikers smiled for photographs, laughing, completely unaware that history would remember those pictures for a very different reason. On January 23, 1959, the expedition officially began. They boarded a train heading north, excited for the adventure that lay ahead. None of them knew. They had already started a journey from which they would never return. The train carried the group farther north, leaving behind the crowded cities and entering one of the most isolated regions of the Soviet Union. Every passing hour, the landscape became colder. The forests grew thicker. The roads slowly disappeared beneath deep snow, Eventually, the hikers reached the final village on their route. It was the last place where they would see civilization. From here, everything would depend on their experience, their equipment, and each other. The next morning, they strapped on their skis, adjusted their heavy backpacks, and stepped into the endless, white wilderness. The air was freezing. The wind grew stronger with every kilometer, yet their spirits remained high. Throughout the journey, they kept journals, took photographs, laughed together, and sang songs around the campfire at night. Those photographs captured smiling faces, friendly jokes, and moments of happiness. Nothing suggested that a terrible tragedy was only days away. As the expedition moved deeper into the Ural Mountains, the weather began to change. The sky turned gray. Snowfall became heavier. Powerful winds swept across the mountain slopes. Visibility dropped, and every step became more difficult. Still, the group refused to turn back. They believed they were fully prepared for whatever nature could throw at them. But hidden somewhere within those frozen mountains, something was waiting. Something no map could ever reveal. Days passed, but the hikers never returned. At first, no one believed anything was wrong. The expedition was known to be difficult. Delays were common, but as the silence continued, families became increasingly worried. The university finally organized a search party. Experienced rescuers, local volunteers, and later, the Soviet military joined the search. For days, they searched through deep snow, frozen forests, and dangerous mountain slopes. Then, on February 26, 1959, they found the hikers' tent. What they saw made no sense. The tent was still standing. Most of the equipment, food, winter boots, heavy jackets, and personal belongings were still inside. It looked as if the group had left in a terrible hurry. Then investigators noticed something even more disturbing. The fabric of the tent had been cut open from the inside. Not outside, inside. Why would experienced mountaineers destroy their own shelter during a deadly snowstorm? Outside the tent, a single line of footprints led away into the frozen darkness. Some footprints showed boots. Others appeared to be made by people wearing only socks. A few seemed almost barefoot. The tracks continued toward a dark forest nearly 1.5 kilometers away. The rescuers followed them, not knowing that the answers waiting ahead would only deepen the mystery. More than 60 years have passed, yet no single theory has answered every question. Was it an avalanche? A secret military experiment? A rare natural phenomenon? Or something that has never been officially revealed? The truth may still be buried beneath the frozen snow of Dyatlov Pass. 9 young hikers began an adventure, but only their mystery returned. And perhaps some secrets were never meant to be solved. If you enjoyed uncovering this mystery with us, make sure to subscribe to SUMVOX for more true unsolved cases, mysterious disappearances, and hidden stories from around the world. Until next time, stay curious and keep searching for the truth.